Hey, how's everyone doing? This is Bob Gumbs with the Concerned Forum, and I hope that everyone is doing well. Uh, as usual, let me ask that when you see this on YouTube, if you can make a little check mark indicating whether you liked it or didn't like it, or maybe even become a subscriber. And even if you didn't like it, at least put some comments down there so that I have something to sink my teeth into. All right. Where are we? Well, apparently it seems that ICE has murdered another person in Minnesota. And I'm really wondering, you got to excuse me because this latest murder, we just heard about it over here. And it's knocked me a little bit off balance. I mean, this is the thing with the Trump hunter. Okay, I will not even call it. I will not give it the dignity of calling it an administration. This is a hunter. You have essentially what you have. You have a bunch of white nationalists who have the United States captured, or so they think. This is not any tirade against my fellow white American citizens. This is just a fact. But I would like to ask my fellow white American citizens, uh, since Trump has started this whole mass deportation thing, uh, tell me, have your paychecks gotten fatter? Do you now have health care, right? Have the schools in your area, have they improved since this madness was started a few months ago? I'm curious, right? All you folks out there that voted for Trump, and now I mean, I see you on the internet all the time. You're crying about, oh, well, we didn't vote for this. Well, I'm just curious. You voted for a guy that was a sexual abuser, a peeping Tom, and a thief. So I'm just curious, what the hell did you expect to happen? Right? I mean, you vote for a clown and you're upset because you have a circus. I don't understand the rationale behind that. And it's time it's time that we all take a good look in the mirror and see just, what the hell we have done to bring our country to this level. Now, think about this. ICE, which is a paramilitary force that the President of the United States is using as his own Praetorian Guard, has been running through the streets of Minnesota, killing American citizens. Now, digest that, okay? Take a minute or two and digest that. And then tell me again why you think that when you voted, that Donald Trump would be a better choice than the black Asian lady that had been a DA, a prosecutor, a state's attorney general, a United States senator, and a vice president. So I want someone to explain this to me, not to negate the fact that this woman told the whole country exactly what would happen if you voted for Donald Trump. And everything that this woman has said has come true. Now, I will be the first one to tell you that I'm a registered Democrat and I do have Democratic Socialist leanings. I will be the first one to tell you that the campaign that she ran was not good. Was that entirely her fault? No. Most of it was not her fault because she essentially inherited all the junk out of the Joe Biden presidency. Okay, so she never really had a chance to stand up and fly on her own steam. Okay, I acknowledge that. I agree with that sentiment. But see, the point is, you had a chance to vote for an accomplished black Asian lady as opposed to a goddamn felon. And you chose to vote for the felon. And now so many of you out there are surprised. Oh, my health care has gone up like a zillion percent. They're going to throw Mima out of the nursing home. And I'm going to have to park her butt on my couch with me, my wife, and my four kids. What the hell did you expect? I don't understand this. And see, this is how should I say, the deadly results of bias and bigotry. Okay? Excuse me. Mm. Now, I know that, everybody's saying, oh, well, it was about the economy, right? No, it wasn't. Seriously. And you know that. Okay? Donald Trump in his first term didn't do a damn thing for working Americans. All right? I mean, you, you got facts and figures all over the freaking place that tells you that. But you chose to fall for this bullshit. Well, I voted for Trump because he's a businessman and blah blah blah. He do good for the economy. Where was this? On what planet did this good that Trump supposedly had done for the economy of the average working American? Where did this take place? At best, you felt that elderly white criminal would do better for the economy than a black Asian woman, right? That's what you did, see? And now you are getting what you served up. And it's like so many of you, I mean, I look at YouTube every day, okay? I'm trying to establish something with YouTube. So I have to look at all these various, clips and what have you that come across my screen. And I'm seeing actual pain, actual hurt. Okay. And I really don't understand. I don't understand. What is it? Well, how many of you clowns voted for Trump, right? What, 74, 75 million? There's a huge chunk of my fellow Americans, predominantly white, but some Hispanic, excuse me, some Latino, uh, and God help me, some black, all right, that actually felt that you were doing a good thing by voting for the criminal. And now you are surprised. Like I said before, you vote for a clown, expect a circus. And that's what we have in America right now. We have a freaking circus. And it's tragic, okay? Because people are getting killed because of your vote, okay? You gave Trump and the other idiots in his menagerie, you gave them permission to brutalize the American people. And see, that's the sad thing about racism. Because maybe you thought, oh, well, he is just going to go after them blacks and Latinos, right? But see, hate, you can't contain hate. It's like a disease. It's like a venereal disease. It spreads. And now this disease is threatening Latin America, or excuse me, South America. It's threatening our allies in Western Europe because hate needs energy. Okay? And that's what you have right now. Technically, we're at war in about what, two or three different places? Is that what you people voted for? I'm just curious. Seriously. And how in the hell, even after Trump is passed off the scene, how the hell do you expect the rest of the world to ever trust the United States again? I know goddamn good and well I wouldn't. Seriously, I wouldn't. If you keep on, why are you going to trust people? I mean, excuse me, why are you going to put your faith in people that you really can't trust? A criminal is someone that can't be trusted. But you voted for them. And now you're surprised that you are literally getting screwed left and right. And there's no flowers, no candy, no kiss, no sweet words. You're just getting screwed. And it's a shame. It is a damn shame that the American people, or I should say a large swath of the American electorate, has been literally kept ignorant for the last 30, 35 years. They have worked, when I say they, I'm talking about the people in the upper elite that support Trump and what he's doing, the working Americans. They've been working for the last 30, 35 years to dumb you down. And it succeeded. Okay? I congratulate Trump and some of these corporate demons on the job well done because you have been dumbed down to the point that you cut your own throat. And it's sad. And it's, to me, it's like the South, right? They were so busy on keeping black folks down that they didn't notice that they were kept down. And look at these red states. I mean, if you live in a red state, baby, you ain't got nothing to be proud of. Educationally, healthcare wise, right? Quality of life, infrastructure. What the hell do you have to be proud of? Nothing. Oh, we got to keep them niggas and commies and them left wingers. We got to keep them down. Got to keep them down. Well, congratulations. You did, and you paid the cost. And some of you actually felt that with Donald Trump, what is it the vice president said? No white man will can ever be ashamed of being white again. Oh, really? I don't recall anybody asking white folks to be ashamed, especially white men. Now, I understand that white men, especially young white men, have problems. But that's not the fault of trans people, black people, Latino people, right? Or women. Okay. And I find it so convenient for these people on the right to basically make uh, people of color, women, trans people, to make all of them the focus of your hate. See? And I'm sad that a lot of white working class Americans, you ain't got it yet. It hasn't clicked on you yet that these people essentially want you to fight me, okay, while they tra la la to the bank. Haven't gotten that yet. It hasn't sunk through to a lot of y'all out there yet. Now, I think that people are becoming aware because of the fact that ICE, they're in Minnesota killing white people. Okay? These, these are white people that they're killing. And that should show you right there that these people in the Trump hunter, they don't give a damn about working class white folks. They bring out these ICE guys, trailer park trash, and I know that sounds very, very harsh. For a time, I lived in the trailer, okay, when I was, down in Virginia before I went back in the service, right? Living in a trailer park does not necessarily make you a bad person. But unfortunately, in this country, we have developed this mentality of the trailer park trash, of the redneck. And unfortunately, just like the stereotypical black American in the ghetto, people fall for that bullshit. And that's what you have. So you're going and you're taking the most uneducated, unenlightened, unskilled, right, group of guys, putting them in a uniform, and essentially what you're doing is you're telling them to, go to these blue states like Minnesota and beat people. That's what you're doing. And I'm not wrong. You got uh, law enforcement officials across the country essentially saying the same damn thing that I'm saying. Okay? You got a bunch of untrained, mostly ignorant men attacking people, even to the age of 5 years old. Right? Now, I'm not going to make this a long one tonight. I got too much on my mind. But let me say this. We have a Democratic Party, okay? Mm. And if you listen to my videos over a period of time, you know that one of my big peeves is moderate Democrats. Okay? The reason I don't care for moderate Democrats is because I've never seen a moderate accomplish anything. Okay? How do you moderately feed a hungry kid a sandwich? Okay? I mean, what is that? What do? Do you give them, you give that hungry child half a sandwich or what? There are times when a person, as an individual choice, has to be conservative. And there are times when you have to be a bit radical. Okay? If I'm sitting in the house of pancakes, it's time for me to be a little bit conservative. I only order 2 orders of pancakes and omelets as opposed to 5. All right, that's being conservative. But if that house of pancakes caught fire, I would not moderately walk my ass out of that restaurant. No, I would be very radical and try and throw people out the door to get them out there for their safety and perhaps even try and help put out the fire. See, so that's why this whole thing about moderate Democrats, I got my eye on you, Chuck Schumer. I got my eye on you, Hakeem Jeffries. That's why I don't buy into this bullshit about moderate Democrats. This country's in trouble. America is in trouble, right? People are being slaughtered in the streets. And I tell you, frankly, and everybody was saying back in 2015 when this clown Trump first came on the stage, and I was warning people. I was a member of because I had left the Roman Catholic Church and I was going to the Unitarian church, their services back in 2015. And I warned people then that this may well signal the end of America because I said that we're going to see concentration camps, we're going to see gas chambers, we're going to see book burning. Okay? Now, so far, I'm 2 out of 3. Okay? And I think that the job of Americans, especially those who are elected officials, is to stop it from becoming number 3. Okay? We already have the concentration camps. We already have the book burners out there. Now, are we going to wait for the gas chambers? Seriously, think about it. We're going down the same road. And if you ever read, what is it, The Rise and Fall of Nazi Germany? Oh, what was that guy's name? He's the same guy that wrote this book. Is that William Sherrard? Who wrote the book about Gandhi, India, and the British Empire? Okay. The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. Yeah. Read that. Okay. Look at these movies that they're making about Nuremberg and what happened and what was said. Bearing in mind that in every country, you have, I'm not going to say a third, I'm going to try and be more generous than that. But I will say you have a slice of the population, an ungodly slice of the population, that would happily kill the other 2/3 of the American public to get their way. Really. Unfortunately, the Republican Party has adopted a lot of those type of people. And that's one of the situations that we're facing now. The only good thing that has come out of the Trump regime is the opportunity for Americans, especially white Americans, to take a look in the mirror. See? Because you see evil and you go and you look in the mirror and you have to ask yourself, why did I vote for this? We're snatching 5-year-old kids out of nurseries and kindergartens. Is this what America stands for? And as far as our European allies are concerned, let me say this, and I've worked with you, okay? The first time I was in the service, I was assigned to NATO in Germany, okay? Or what we call now Germany. Back then it was West Germany, right? And, Netherlands, Holland, etc. Good people. We were damn good people. Good soldiers, good troops, right? Came home, went to college, came back in the Navy. Did exercises all up and down the Arctic Circle, the North Atlantic, the Mediterranean, off the coast of Africa, all that good shit with, our NATO partners. Excellent people, excellent soldiers and sailors, right? Trump was trying to start a war with our allies, right? What kind of human being? You're going to pick a fight with your friends? How would you say this to European leadership, okay, NATO leadership? If you trust the United States now under the present regime, you're an idiot. Seriously, I mean, no disrespect, but you are an idiot. You are just as bad as Neville Chamberlain in 1938 at Munich. There's no two ways about it. You do not placate a bully. And I tell you quite frankly, Trump's trying to have this thing where, well, we are taking over the whole Western Hemisphere. What happened to the rights of sovereign nations? People throw rocks at me because I'm what they call a one world. Okay? And I'll be honest about it. I hope, I mean, I know I won't live to see it, but I hope a century, 2 centuries from now, the whole world is like what you see on Star Trek. Okay? Because I think that's the only intelligent way that this planet will exist. But for right now, I believe in the rights of sovereign states to do their own thing. And this whole business about the United States, what are we going to do? We're going to own South America. We're going to tell them who to elect, right? Who to trade with. Let me give you a warning, okay? If you allow Trump, if the world allows Donald Trump to get away with that, it ain't going to stop with South America, okay? Trump is making deep reaches. I live in Africa now, right? And I can tell you, Trump and his junta, they are making deep reaches into Africa. Why? Because of the natural resources here. So I would say to Western European allies, if you are going to essentially allow the world to be dominated by another Hitler, that fault is on you. Okay? Mm. And there's something else too. Because just like you have MAGA here, you have the same kind of idiots in some of these Western European countries. And I would just like to raise something. Yeah, I believe that huge immigration, it's a problem. Okay, not for the reasons that they're crying about, but just generally. You're taking a whole populations of people and dumping them someplace else, and that doesn't solve the problem. The problem needs to be solved in the countries where these people come from. But let me point out something here. Number one, the West, meaning America, some of these corporations and Western allies, you are responsible for this immigration thing, right? Uh, why is it? After, what is it, 90, I'm trying to remember exactly what year we started going with 2001, and 90 and 91. You waged a war in the Middle East for what, over 20 some odd years. Okay? You destabilized whole countries. So what in the freak do you expect people to do? This is something that you brought upon yourself. Okay? People are going to try to survive. That's the first thing. Now, second thing, you have gone throughout Africa, you have picked your leaders, okay, the people that essentially they sell their people out, they take Western money, and they don't really do a damn thing for their people, which in turn causes their people, and a lot of times it's the best and the brightest, to leave their country and go looking in other parts of the world for employment, for quality of life, so on and so forth. So I would be very hesitant to any like these English magatypes, French magatypes, Italian magatypes. Sometimes people need to really think before they shoot their mouths off, right? And when I see a Western country crying about immigration, my first question is, what have you done to contribute to the problem? Okay? Because it seems that any government in Africa or the Middle East that basically they put their people first and try and improve their conditions. You have your intelligence agencies, going to the armies of these countries and basically, cause issues. It's like you had Lumumba assassinated, right? Back in, was it 60, 61. And it was like, I'm not talking BS here. This is all in the Church Commission in the United States Senate. What was that? Back in 75, right? What we did to contribute to the destabilization of many of these countries. You basically you back up the dictators, the people that take the money from the West and buy cars and send their kids to Oxford and Colonial University, while the masses of the people go hungry. So what the hell do you expect? And let me hit on number three. Um, if it wasn't for India and Africa, there would be no West, quite frankly. If it was not for India, the so-called Middle East and Africa, there would be no Western Europe. You had Trump and that asshole was the head of Hungary crying about, oh, we have to save Western, Christian civilization. Hey, buddy, Christianity started over here in East Africa. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, Her Majesty the Queen, she passed away not too long ago, right? Excuse me. And you had all these people at the funeral, right? All these, high-ranking elite folks, and they're walking around with jewels, be draped in jewels. I think the crown was on top of her coffin, had jewels, jewels all over the place, right? These jewels, where did they come from? They came from India, they came from Africa, okay? There would have been no British Empire if it wasn't for slavery, if it wasn't for the extraction of people, of raw materials that took place in India and especially in Africa. France, World War One. How many thousands, hundreds of thousands of black men, right, from places like what is it, Sierra Leone, right, French West Africa, died in the trenches of Europe, and then they died again in World War Two. So My way of thinking is that maybe France, as much as I love you and the Marseilles and the rights of man and liberty, equality, fraternity, I love that shit. But sometimes I think that our friends in the West, you need to be reminded about just where you got all your good shit from. Seriously, that goes to Germany, Austria, what used to be Austria-Hungary, all those places, right? The Netherlands, all you basically rape the world of color to build your empire. French, Dutch, Spanish, Portuguese. Okay, so I get tired of hearing these clowns talking about, oh well, we have to save Western civilization from the immigrants. Well, guess what? Maybe you should stay your ass home and out of other folks' country. Okay? Seriously. I mean, that's the way I look at the situation. And I think that I am historically correct in that. That's just like here in America. There'd be no America if it wasn't for immigration and land theft. Okay? Mm. Uh, that's one of the reasons, that's one of the things that really bothers me when you look at history from the Western model of history. Okay? And then, in places like Arkansas, Florida, Oklahoma, Alabama, Mississippi, you got people, they don't want you to teach the history because they say, oh, well, that will make people feel bad. Why? This is what happened. And by the same token, you can also teach about the really wonderful, great human beings that happen to be white that fought against the rape and robbery of the indigenous people, that fought against the rape and enslavement of African peoples, right? Because everything has two sides. Okay, I'm not saying that you shouldn't teach. Only teach about slavery. Why don't you also teach about the people that actively fought against slavery? And see, that's why when I look at the Republican Party today, and I say that most of these guys are a bunch of fake racists. Now, is every Republican in Congress like that? No, you have a few decent people there. But unfortunately, especially since 2015, the damn Republican Party has fallen under the sway of a bunch of basically white nationalists. Okay. And again, I say to my Western allies in Europe, listen, a white nationalist regime in Washington does not guarantee safety for you. And see, I repeat, I say it again. Bigotry, racism is like venereal disease. It spreads. See, first you're hunting down Latinos, then you're hunting down blacks, which a lot of these bastards on the right always wanted to do anyway. And then you're oppressing women. Okay. Look at some of the crazy ideas in these red state legislatures that these clowns come up with. Oh, women shouldn't be allowed to vote. Oh, we got to make it difficult for women to leave the state and leave their husbands. All kinds of crazy shit. So that's why I say that this is Trump and his regime in the White House are a danger for the whole world. Oh, and like I said, this ain't going to be too long tonight. But one thing I want to deal with, aside from everything else that I mentioned, what do you call them? FBAs, Foundational Black Americans. I'm trying to figure out what the hell is that. Mm. I mean, I look at my own life. My father was from the American Virgin Islands. His father was Dominican. His mother was Haitian. I'm born and raised in New York City. My mother came from the old Confederacy from Virginia, right outside of Richmond down Broad Street Road. So what does that make me? Half foundational Black American? And I know that there is controversy between Black Americans and certain groups of immigrants. And I would say that this is something that has been spread to basically have us at each other's throats. Okay, that's the first thing. Secondly, a large part of the modern civil rights movement uh, came from immigrant blacks. Ever hear of Marcus Garvey and the Universal Negro Improvement Association? Hmm. Ever hear of? And I am so ashamed. I don't remember his African name, but remember a guy in the '60s was the student nonviolent coordinator, Stokely Carmichael from Jamaica, right? So this whole idea that somehow you're different because you come from the Caribbean or even coming from Africa is asinine, and it needs to stop. Okay. And this business about FBA, I tell you quite frankly, it's bullshit. It's pure bullshit. It's just another nail in the coffin to keep people of color divided. Mm. And it's something that I would expect to come out of the mouth of some Sambo like what's his name, Stephen Smith, and people like that. Okay, it's funny uh, how this system confine people, both black, white, and Latino, to divide, right? They do that because it's in the best interest of of many in this corporate system to keep people divided. See, and I don't understand why more Black Americans are not hip to that. See, but that's all it is, quite frankly. I think that when you study the history over the last 60 years, you will see that this whole thing has been a game basically to keep folks divided. And we need to wake up to that. White Americans need to, what's the name of that Sambo chick? I can't stand her. This must be a problem getting older because people I really despise, sometimes I have a hard time remembering their name. Candace Owens, right? Who the hell is this chick? Right? What the hell does she know? I can tell you absolutely nothing. She knows nothing about foreign policy. She knows nothing about the American Intelligence Agency, excuse me. And she spouts all this bullshit about Charlie Kirk. Let me ask you something. As a black woman, and I know this is going to come across real harsh, but it's at this point in our history, everybody needs to start to engage in truth telling. What the hell do you care if Charlie Kirk was assassinated? Now, was it right to assassinate Charlie Kirk? No, no. But when I shed tears for Hitler, right? Especially, for example, if I was a Jewish person, would I shed tears for Hitler? No. Charlie Kirk said that I was not qualified to fly an aircraft. Okay, and you study the exploits of all the black flyers like back in the 1920s. And some of these were women, right? You look at the Tuskegee Airmen, and then you have a little clown like Charlie Kirk saying, "Oh, well, when I see a black guy in the cockpit, I get worried," right? And this is the same guy that said that my mother, my black American mother, did not have the mental capacity of a white person. Okay, I mean, just on those two things alone, why the hell would I care about Charlie Kirk getting his head blown off? I'm getting ready to write a letter to the Holy Father in Rome, um, because I still, in my heart, I still feel ties to the Roman Catholic Church because that's how, that's where I was raised at. And fortunately, the last two popes that we've had, Francis and the guy we got now, they're the best the Catholic Church has had since, was it Pope John the 23rd, right? And I mean, I respect both of those men. I don't agree with everything they say. Believe me, I don't. But I respect the hell out of them, and I respect them for trying to at least live up to the principles of being a good shepherd, as in Christ. Okay? But I would like to, I mean, what's his name, Leo? I would like to send him a letter and ask him, or I should say, thank him for getting rid of that clown, that was it, Archbishop of New York, the Cardinal of New York, Dolan? He's a freaking racist. He made this statement about, oh, well, Charlie Kirk was like a St. Paul. Hey, Irishman, are you fucking crazy? This man was a raving bigot, and you compare him to St. Paul? I mean, let's get real. And I'm looking to see the balls of elected Latino and Black representatives in the Bronx. Um, I'd like to ask them, how dare in an area the Bronx is primarily a Latino Black area, all right? Overwhelming Latino and Black. Why are you going to hold a moment of silence at Yankee Stadium for this bastard Charlie Kirk? I don't get it. We're not talking about St. Francis of Assisi here, okay? We are talking about a determined white nationalist racist. And see, that's the large part of the problem. People don't speak up. Hmm. Now, I think that the situation that we have the Democratic Party, I think it's desperate. Okay. I think that Democrats need to do you got to do a huge better job of standing up for average Americans in this country. You're standing up there, and some of you guys are real good. Okay, I like that law professor who's in Congress from Maryland. He's excellent, right? You got a few others that stand up. I think that my girl Ocasio Cortez, I miss living in her district by about 2 blocks back in the Bronx. She's wonderful. Okay. There's a young kid coming up now, Vega. He's running for the seat for Congressman Torres. Okay, I think that Vega will do a much better job of standing up. And we also have to take a look at the Senate. Um, many of these senators, congressmen that voted for that bill, right, to stop the government from shutting down, you voted for that with no leashes to be placed on ICE. I don't think we need you. I think that you need to be primary, quite frankly. People are dying, okay? Now, my opinion, ICE needs to be canceled, okay? They're not necessary. Basically, they're the Praetorian Guard for Donald Trump. They need to be canceled. But if you won't fight for that, you would at least have the decency to fight and say, look, we ain't going to sign on to no appropriation for no more money until there are leashes put upon ICE. Because this is intolerable, okay? You're killing American citizens. And it's time for this shit to stop. We have a constitution, we have laws. And if ICE is not capable of functioning within those constitutional legal confines, they need to go. And you in the Senate, as elected representatives, you need to start speaking up for your people, quite frankly. That's what you need to do. And if you can't do that, then you deserve to be primary. It's just that goddamn simple. Seriously. And let me see what else I wanted to touch upon. Oh, look what's popped up on my computer. Probe shows victim disarmed before first shot was fired. That's about the one that got killed today. The American citizen that was killed today. In latest agent-involved killing, an initial investigation reported shows that recent immigration-involved shooting in Minneapolis took place after the man had been disarmed. What the hell is this? What are we allowing our country to turn into? I don't get it. Here goes another one. Parents identify man shot by federal agents as Alex, what was it, Preddy, an ICU nurse. National Guard is assisting police as protests grow. And we're right here. Governor Tim Walz authorizes the Minnesota National Guard to assist local police amid growing protests following second fatal shooting in Minneapolis. Now, I'm curious. As a registered Democrat, okay, as a 25-year military veteran, okay, I want to know what in the hell is the Senate doing? What in the hell are the Democrats in the Senate doing? Are they going to stand up for the American people? Or are they just going to go along? This is the thing that the average working class Democrat doesn't understand. This is what caused the Democratic Party so much shit back in November 24. This is why, and I look, a lot of the Latino leaders, uh, Muslim Americans, Arab Americans, right, and some Black Americans. This is how they wound up supporting Trump, right? Because nobody likes a freaking coward. Nobody likes a person who has the power to stand up for his people. And when I say his people, I'm talking about all the people that voted for him. And they have that power, and they don't do a goddamn thing. Okay? They're known as weak. They are known as punks. I use the term, old street term, because I'm from the hood, right out of the projects. Okay, I had good parents, but I got a good education, but I'm still from the street. And when somebody is basically a person that allows himself to be pushed around and shoved around, we call him a pussy. Now, I know that might incense some of the ladies out there, but one thing about me, one characteristic that I'll have and I'll take to the grave, I'm an honest man. And anyone who knows me will say this. I don't lie. Okay? That's part of my code. That's part of my personal ethics. And yeah, that's what I called Hakeem Jeffries. I say that about, what's his name? Chuck Schumer. Stop, and I would say it to the rest of the Democrats, stop acting like a bunch of goddamn pussies and start standing up for American citizens. It's just that goddamn simple. And if you don't want to do that, then your ass should be primary. There are dead people on the streets now. Dead Americans. Okay? Not counting the 5-year-old kid that was kidnapped by ICE. So, what did Benjamin Franklin say? When the colonies decided upon a constitution in 1789, what is it that, what was it, 1788 actually? What is it that Ben Franklin said? I don't know if you all, because apparently I'm terrified now because it seems that most working Americans don't know a goddamn thing about the history of their country. But when they came out of that building in Philadelphia, it was 87, 88, after they had worked to hammer out the details for the new nation's constitution, a woman came up to Benjamin Franklin, and she said, "Hello, doctor, what have you given us? A monarchy or a republic?" And Ben said, "A republic, man, if you can keep it." And that's what we are in the process of trying to decide now. Are we going to keep this democracy? I mean, I know I'm not like my boy from Maryland, that constitutional law professor that represents, what is that? I think it's either Prince George's County, or the one right next to it. But I'm not as articulate as he is, because he could always come up with all the facts and figures. But at this point in time, we can assume that the facts and figures are on our side, okay? Because they're there. Anybody can look them up, right? But what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get people to understand that this is the time for the hair on fire. Blood has been spilled. People have died at the hands of the Trump regime. And America, oh, and also our allies have been threatened and insulted, okay? These are the people that came to our aid at from 9/11. All right? These are the people that I trained with, worked with, for most of my time in the military. All this shit is going on. And Americans are going to have to make a serious decision. Are you going to fight for our democracy? Are you going to fight for the Constitution? Or are you just going to let this pervert, this child molester, or at the very least, someone that covers for child molesters, this peeping Tom, yeah, he was the peeping Tom. Out of his own mouth, he admitted that. Okay, on the talk shows, right? Is this what you want America to represent? I'm not saying you got to be some kind of freaking angel, but let's get real here. I mean, is this the kind of shit you want your kids to look up to? Please don't tell me about you care about your children and their education and the morals and all this other shit. You know, you want to go out and hang guys who are cross dressers and all this other shit. Don't tell me about your moral code, right? When Donald Trump was asked about this whole thing about him taking over South America and what have you, what did he say? Excuse me. He says, yeah, well, I'll do things, of course, with my own moral code, my own moral code. Well, Donald Trump has no morals, right? We know this. So I'm just curious, what is it going to take for the American people, for the mass majority of American people, to just stand up and say no? What is it going to take for the Democrats and the few decent Republicans you have left in Congress to stand up and say no? And I'd like to say to the military, and I gave the military, 25 years of my adult life, and I want to know, all you cats that sit on the Joint Chiefs and, command divisions and what have you, do you remember your oath? And I would say to the enlisted guys and gals, are you ready to kill your fellow Americans behind the whims of an ignorant, ugly, sick, decrepit, hateful, spiteful maniac? That's the question that you have to ask. And those folks, Mark Kelly and the other five people in Congress, former military and intel types, I suspect that when they made that little video telling military people to remember their oath, I suspect that they had a feeling that it was coming to this. And that's why they felt it was necessary for them to make that video. So, hey, it is what it is, right? You have a president that has unleashed a Praetorian Guard upon the American people in an unconstitutional manner. So I say to you birds in the military, to you birds in Congress, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to stand up? Yeah, everybody talks about, oh, we're going to throw them in jail if we see them burning the flag. Okay, wonderful. You love the flag. I never tried to burn the flag. As many demonstrations as I've been in, I would never think about burning the flag. You know why? Because I think about all the black men that gave their lives for that flag, for the belief that someday everything that America said she stood for, that she would actually stand for it. So I always felt personally that if I burned the flag, I would be disrespecting them. Okay? Hey, I'm just a little guy, but I stand upon the shoulders of giants. And I will never forget that. And it's time for the military and for our representatives in Congress to follow the goddamn law. Same thing with the judiciary. Okay? You have a responsibility to make this junta, I won't call it an administration, to make this junta stand up and follow the goddamn law. It's just that simple. Listen, I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm going to go to bed after I get something to eat. Listen, thank you for taking the time to listen to me. Um, please stay well. Okay, keep me in your prayers and vice versa. Look out for each other. Keep reading, keep educating yourself. Peace. And I'll see you next time. This is Bob Gums with the Concerned Forum. Check it later.